We are going to discuss. Yes, this is our topic today, and I think Krishna, I'll just speak once more on that. That problem identification and design thinking is what our topic is.
Yeah.
This is something that already Krishna has gone through my brief bio. Just to speak on one part, which is that before I became innovation manager at Mahindra & Mahindra, I was working for 4 years as an engineer, and my job was to create the safety cage for the vehicle UV300.
Sir, your voice is again breaking. I think the participants are not able to hear.
Okay. Not sure how to
Now
manage
it's coming
this
clear.
stuff.
I think.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
Fine. Fine. So now, so 4 years I was working as the in the safety systems integration department, mostly designing the safety cage for TUV300 vehicle. And let's come to this point, which I think most of you have some idea on, right? Design thinking. You guys have some idea on design thinking? If you have, just this will do. Some idea. Okay, great. So Krishna, can I just request you, any two of you, just raise your hand, and Krishna, can you unmute that person? I just want to understand from you guys what you have in mind when this word design thinking comes. I can see Tanish has raised hand. Can we unmute Tanish? And Sumanta, you can, so Tanish, yeah.
Yeah, so first I'll just clarify what I think of design. So design is not that aesthetics and stuff. For example, I have this box. It's not about how this box looks. It's about how the box functions. How
Okay.
customer satisfaction. That is called design. So design thinking is thinking in terms of design and how the customer benefits from any kind of product. It may not be aesthetically pleasing, but how you ideate and get a prototype tested in the market. So it's like the base of any successful startup.
Okay, great answer, Tanish. Thank you for that. Sumanta, you also raised your hand. Can you please unmute yourself?
Yeah, so according to me, design thinking is like analyzing the problem and then framing a solution using our creative minds.
Okay.
And to develop a model to solve the main problem which we found out.
Okay, fine. For the sake of time, I cannot get more people on this, but let's assume that whatever you guys said is, I mean, it is more or less right only, and let's see what more we have here to offer. So yes, this is what, let's say, design thinking is. Question number 2, for any two other than you guys, is design thinking an innovation methodology? Yes or no? And if you are saying yes, then you just in one line tell me why it is an innovation methodology. Anyone? Can I see some hands? Again, Tanish, other than Tanish, I can see Shashank. Shashank, can you please unmute yourself?
Like design thinking is innovation, a form of innovation methodology, because in design thinking there's a process called research, and like we research, we observe things, then we come up with a new product or something. Then in that, when we do all the observation and research, we do a kind of new innovation there. So that's why I think in the design thinking process, the research part involves innovation.
Okay. Yeah, I like this part. Design thinking process is a part of design innovation, right? Fine. Okay. Anybody else? I see Ashish. I can't see the second screen, so I don't know if somebody is there. I can't see. Ashish, can you unmute yourself?
Hi, sir. According to me, design thinking can be used for finding out the root cause of a problem,
Okay.
from which we can uh, go through the process and solve the problem, getting a new innovation or a strategy to build up something new, a product or any service based something.
Okay, so you agree to this, that this is an innovation methodology, right?
Yeah.
Okay, fine. You can mute yourself and I'll go back to sharing again. And there is another question. So I don't want to share back again. So last question is, why is design thinking? Like, we have so many innovation methodologies, we know about people have been innovating, and suddenly we hear a lot about design thinking, right? Why do you
Sir,
think that has come?
your voice isn't audible, sir. Can you just repeat that question?
So my question is that, so we said, what is design thinking? There were two people who could answer that. I then asked that why innovation method, whether it's an innovation methodology. That also we have some idea now. My third question is, why is design thinking? Why suddenly, apart from all other innovation methodologies, suddenly we are talking about design thinking? Anybody on that? I can see again Tanish. I'm just looking for new people to
Can you repeat the question?
yeah, why do we go for a design thinking? Why there is a requirement for a change? There is a new innovation methodology required. Why? I come to Tanish. In case I don't see anybody else, I'll come to you. Anybody else who wants to speak on this? No one? You guys don't have much idea on design thinking? Mrigang wants to speak?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, Mrigang, tell me.
Sorry, I need to switch off my camera because my
No worries.
bandwidth.
It's fine. It's fine. Okay.
Yeah, basically, we have been talking about innovation and inventions, but right now it's quite important to plan our innovations in a way so that we can reach the market in an appropriate way. So it's important to
Can you define
pre-plan our
appropriate,
strategy.
Mrigang? Can you define
Appropriate
the
in the
part when
sense
you said
right now we're
appropriate?
having a lot of competition.
Okay.
We are having a lot of competition in the market. So provided a person comes up with an idea or innovation, it's quite possible that or someone else is having a similar kind of idea. So it's important to have a pre-plan of launching that product and capturing the market by your product.
So you mean to say design thinking helps you to create a clear-cut value proposition ahead of your competitor, right? It's a competitive advantage, right?
Right.
Okay. Okay, I take it. So others, you agree to it? Those who didn't answer, you guys are a little bit of, you understand now? Just a nod will do or a thumbs up will do? Great. Okay. So coming back to these three questions. The last question obviously was, why is design thinking? So now let's look at since we have already spoken about this part, that there is a need to be different. There is a need to have some kind of solution which is ahead of the competitors, which creates a competitive advantage. Let's try to first understand that innovation as a methodology, till now, whatever innovation methodologies we did, what was the principle? What was the underlying equation of innovation has been? So there is a secret equation for innovation. If you just know this, you are done. Like, this is the ultimate thing you just can't think of. Okay. There are three things essentially. One is, there are three attributes that I should say for any product or service you make. Something we call the useful attributes, and there are two other things, which is the non-useful attributes and the cost. So let's take an example. Let's take an example of a very simple thing. Say a toothpaste. Okay. So a toothpaste has the paste in it. So there is a container, right? That's what we buy. What we buy, we cannot actually buy the paste because it's not possible, right? It comes within a container. Now that container within it is what we are actually interested in. We are interested in the paste that helps us to brush our teeth, right? That is useful, very useful part. Non-useful part is probably say what can go bad. Probably if you push, if you to try to get the paste out, sometimes it spills a lot, right? What if we had something which controls the spillage, right? So there are things that are non-useful. So probably the light body of the toothpaste, that's non-useful, and there's obviously a cost. You buy it by paying money. What if it would have been free? So these are the three things that actually goes into any product or service. Think of any product or service. These are the three things. What the equation says is, if you can do this, if you can increase the useful attributes of a product and reduce the harmful attributes or non-useful attributes and the cost, then you are doing a brilliant innovation. Okay. Now, tell me one thing. You can just let me know what is value, or value for whom am I trying to create? Just type in the comment box what do you feel is the value. For whom are you creating this value for? Just type in the comment box. Yes, consumers. And more importantly, users, right? You are creating value for all stakeholders. Yes, Avisha, right? You are actually, that's the perfect reply. You are creating a value for all stakeholders. It's no more the buyer or a user. If you are a platform, you have stakeholders on both sides, like say Uber. They have the rider also as one of the stakeholders. They have the driver also as one of the stakeholders. Right? So it's very important that you ensure value for everyone. Now, how will you create value if you don't know your customer well, right? And that's the reason why this is what design thinking is talking about today. You can increase the value, and once you increase the value, then you can actually sell something good, right? But how do you increase? You have to understand the user, right? And if you need to understand the user, you have to first start with the process of empathizing. Right? So empathizing is all about getting to understand your user in details, trying to be with them, trying to realize the pains and the gains of your user. And that's how you create a value out of it. Because you know your user so well, you can easily package that value into your product or service, right? Is this part clear to you all? Right? Okay. Now, I need you to have a look at these three things and tell me which one of this you like the most and why. So again, like before, I will stop sharing here, and I need two of you to give your views on this. Okay, I can see Avisha. Avisha, can you unmute yourself?
Yeah, the second one because
you like the second one. Okay, great.
Yeah.
And why do you like it?
I like it because it has more usability. Like you can access from both the sides, and it creates a partition also. So that has more accessibility, and it works as a cabinet also, not just books. I mean, not just for the books, but for other things also.
Okay, great.
Yeah.
I can. Yeah. Anything else, Avisha, you want to add?
Yeah, like the third one is also like a close competitor, as to say, because it provides additional functionality. But I think rather than having a specific functionality, it's better to like let the user decide like what they want to use it for. So it has to be open-ended. Like that's what I think products should.
Okay, you like it because it's open. Fine.
Yeah.
One thing for all of you, there is no right answer, wrong answer in this. This is, you guys are also users, right? You may go and buy something. So up to you. You can. I just want to know from you guys what goes in your mind when you're buying it. Avisha, you can mute yourself, and I can see Tanish again. Tanish, can you unmute yourself?
Yes.
Yeah, tell me.
I also agree with Avisha. I like the second one. Or the third one was instinctively pleasing, but I would not want to sit on top of the books. You understand? There are books on top, on the bottom, so I would not want to sit on the books. still very great. If I could put some showpiece on the bottom and then have books on both sides, it would be great, because I would have to get up and then take a book. In the second one, I can sit and still take a book. So that's a plus point.
No one likes the first one.
No.
Since there is no taker for the first one, you like, Ashish likes. Okay.
There is another student, Awais, likes the design because it's appealing.
Okay. Acha, by the way, my voice is audible now to all, na? Good, fine. Okay, so now next question to you is, which one of this you definitely don't like and why? Some new hands, please. I see a lot of closed cameras. I mean, I don't know. I don't have a brilliant background for me, but still, if you can keep your cameras on, I can ask a few more people some questions. I can see Avaish. Avaish, can you unmute yourself and tell me which one you don't like at all? You won't go for it all. It's okay, Avaish. You can just unmute yourself. No worries. Let's participate. You are still on mute, Avaish. Yeah.
Basically, the first one is quite appealing, but regarding the usability, I doubt its utility. But the second and third one were quite durable and useful with regards to the way you can use it on daily purpose. But the first one had a good design, had a good appeal, so it has an interesting those who wish to have an artistic nature.
Okay, so any one of these three you will definitely not like to buy?
Well, again, it depends upon what the customer would like to have.
No, for you.
I would like to have an appeal. The first one I would like to have.
Okay, so you will go for the first one. Some taker is there. Good. Pavan was raising hand. Pavan?
Hello, am I audible?
Very feeble. Yeah, you try speaking once more.
Yeah. My earphone. Hello, am I audible now?
Yes, clear, just like me.
So I definitely don't buy the third one because I'll have to tell to myself to get that book and search the whole book. And also once the seat is broken, I cannot actually put my book into that seat as well. So yeah.
You will go for you will definitely not buy the third one.
Third one, yeah.
Okay. Just to give you a perspective now, before this session, I actually showed the similar picture to different kind of people. Okay, and they were a different age group. They were of the age group approximately say 12, 13 years. They loved the third one. Okay, they loved it. They just said nobody asked for the first two. And there was one very good reason given by somebody about the second one. She said that, if I am running and if I hit that, everything will fall down. So I don't want it in my house. My mom will be furious on me. So see, the reason why I showed this is to explain the same product or service is going to be completely different when perceived by different audience. And that's the reason why it's very important that you understand your customer really well. That for whom are you designing? If I am designing for this kid, I definitely not propose the second one because I can understand her priority is running. She will run around, and if it's faster. She doesn't want that. But for you guys, you think in a way that we sit on it. Indian culture, books are like gods, and also we should not be sitting on it, putting legs there, and all these things come in our mind, very logical. So very important that how we design our product by understanding who our customer or user and you, because you guys all understand it.
Sir, I think your voice is breaking again. The students are not able to hear you. Okay, I think there's an issue with the internet connection from his side. Hello?
Anybody has any doubt on who is a user, who is a customer? Do you understand that there is a difference? Anybody has any doubt? If you have a doubt, just raise your hand. We'll just have a small talk about it. Everybody is clear, right? So we'll move on. And let me share that again. Okay, so here we were, and we said that we spoke of both. Now, let's try to define design thinking. Okay, design thinking is actually what you guys said. It's a mixture of these two, and if you can mix this, you know, the word design thinking came from the thinking process of designers, because designers don't always think rational and work on it. I have been interacting with engineers a longer time, and the worst habit of engineers is jumping to conclusions. They see a problem, immediately they say that chalo iska to result aa gaya, mujhe pata hai what to do. So that's a big problem, and this is where we need to be very cautious that we don't jump into conclusions, we don't jump into ideation mode the moment the problem is given to us. And design thinking also is important because it keeps the user at the center of the design process. Not just that pulling the user and saying, why will be designing something? No, not like that at the center, but it's like thinking the user every time when he is designing, right? And the last line is very important. It empowers you to design anything. I will prove it. Now we will have a video where I will show it. You can design anything if you know design thinking. My voice is cutting again. Internet is very bad in Kolkata. I am very sorry for it. After this Amphan, no, I don't know what's wrong. They have done so much. Again, this is all about design thinking. They should have first realized what problems can come, and then they should have designed the optical fibers. But anyways, we'll have to deal with it. Let me know if collectively you guys are facing this problem. So the other point of design thinking is about when you are in an organization, you are an organization like a startup, or you are a part of an organization. These three things you will always keep in mind. See, any design process has to have these three. One is your business, right? The other is technology, and definitely the third one is the human. So we say customer desirability, technical feasibility, and economic viability. When you have a sweet spot with these three, that's a red zone, and you're innovating there, then this is going to be a very fruitful, implementable, sustainable solution. Okay. So please do note this down. Anyways, I will be sharing these slides with you. Not a problem, but still, I'll ask you to note things down because it always helps in understanding things better when you write, because that's when we apply our brain. So this is what design thinking in one way is. Okay. So now coming back to this question, what is design thinking? Is this answered? Everybody understands this? So I can take that this is answered, right? Okay. Question number 2, why is design thinking? Is this answered? Everybody knows that why we are doing design thinking, why need of a new methodology? Okay, considered, answered. Now, what we'll do is we will again we will watch a small video. How many of you know IDEO? Okay, I can see Avisha raising hand. Anyone else? Let me see a few faces. Okay, yeah, I can see. Who else? And forget about those who have kept their cameras off. I'm very sorry. Okay, no worries. At least few people know. And how many of you know about the IDEO shopping? Wow, Avisha knows very well. Again, Tanisha can't hear me. Whoever knows about IDEO knows about the shopping cart, right? Are there people who doesn't know about the shopping cart? Let me rephrase my question. Shopping cart by IDEO. There are people who doesn't know about it. One says no idea. Anish says no idea. Okay. So there are people who don't. Sejal also, it seems like she says no idea. Okay, great. So it's worth. There's so many no ideas. Brilliant. Mudula says no idea. Fine. I go and I'll show the shopping cart video for you. So 3 things I need from you. One is get a notepad and a pen. Write things down. Okay. Everything that you feel is important. because there are thousands of things to learn from this one single video. It's amazing video. Once we are done, we will have a interaction again. 2-3 people we can get to unmute and speak. Okay, so
the deep dive, one company's secret weapon for innovation.
You guys can hear it now?
I can hear it.
We went to IDEO, the product design folk, and said, take something old and familiar, like, say, the shopping cart, and completely redesign it for us in just 5 days. ABC News correspondent Jack Smith tells us what happened next.
9 in the morning, day one, and these people have a deadline to meet.
So welcome to the kickoff of the shopping cart project.
This is Palo Alto, California, in the heart of Silicon Valley. These are designers at IDEO, probably the most influential product development firm in the world. IDEO has designed...
Someone's mic is unmuted, so I'm hearing a feedback coming, so it's not clear.
I'll just check one sec.
I'm not able to.
Everything from high-tech medical equipment to the 25-foot mechanical whale in the movie Free Willy and the first computer mouse for Apple. Smith ski goggles, Nike sunglasses, NEC computer screens. Hundreds of products we take for granted.
The point is that we're not actually experts at any given area. You know, we're kind of experts on the process of how you design stuff. So we don't care if you give us a toothbrush, a toothpaste tube, a tractor, a space shuttle, you know, a chair. It's all the same to us. We want to figure out how to innovate by using our process, applying it.
Project leader is Peter Skillman, a 35-year-old Stanford engineer. Project leader because he's good with groups, not because of seniority. He's only been at IDEO for 6 years. The rest of the team is eclectic, but that's typical here. Whitney Mortimer, Harvard MBA. Peter Coughlin, linguist. Tom Kelly, Dave's brother, marketing expert. Jane Fulton-Suri, psychologist. Alex Kazaks, 26, a biology major, who's turned down medical school 3 times because he's having too much fun at IDEO. Safety emerges early as an important issue.
22,000 child injuries a year, and so they're hospitalized injuries. I mean, there are many others.
And theft. It turns out a lot of carts are stolen. As the team works, it becomes clear there are no titles here, no permanent assignments.
And the other side gives us a lot of help, says, be safe. I'll give you a big red ball on a post, and that says you're a big guy. If you got a ball, you're a senior vice president. You know, what do I care? The desk, the red ball, it's all the same. In a very innovative culture, you can't have a kind of hierarchy of here's the boss and the next person down, the next person down, the next person down, because it's impossible that the boss is the one who's had the insightful experience with shopping carts. It's just not possible.
The team splits into groups to find out firsthand what the people who use, make, and repair shopping carts really think.
Okay, go.
The problem with the plastic cart is the wind catches it. Yeah. And these things have been clocked at 35 across the parking lot.
Oh, man, that's actually a pretty good point. The trick is to find these real experts, and so that you can learn much more quickly than you could by just kind of doing it the normal way and trying to learn about it yourself.
From everything I read, these things aren't that safe either, you know? So probably the seat itself is going to have to be redesigned.
One of the interesting things for me is looking at how people really don't like to let go of the cart, except for the professional shopper, whose strategy is to leave the cart at various places.
3:30 in the afternoon, and the group is back at IDEO. There is no let-up.
Each team is going to demonstrate and communicate and share everything that they've learned today.
A shopping cart has been clocked at 35 miles an hour, traveling through a parking lot in the wind.
We were in the store, 2 hours, and it was truly frightening just to see the kind of stuff going on.
You ought to designate some people to make damn sure that the store owner's point of view is represented.
After 9 straight hours, the team is tired. They call it a day.
So,
everybody cool?
Well, that's great. Thanks a lot. We had a great time today. Yeah.
IDEO's mantra for innovation is written everywhere. One conversation at a time. Stay focused. Encourage wild ideas. Defer judgment. Build on the ideas of others.
That's the hardest thing for people to do, is to restrain themselves from criticizing an idea. So if anybody starts to nail an idea, they get the bell, you know.
The ideas pour out and are posted on the walls.
Oh, the blind, the privacy blind. Like when you're buying 6 cases of condoms, no one sees. If it doesn't nest, we don't have a solution.
Organized chaos. It's not organized. What it is it's focused chaos.
Vote with your post-it, not with an idea that's cool, but with an idea that's cool and buildable. If it's too far out there and it can't be built in a day, then I don't think we should vote on it. Enlightened trial and error succeeds over the planning of lone genius.
Enlightened trial and error succeeds over the planning of the lone genius. If anything sums up IDEO's approach, that is it. Worried that the team is drifting, what can only be called a group of self-appointed adults under Dave Kelly holds an informal side session.
4 or 5 teams. 4 or 5 teams, and we give each team a need area. It becomes very autocratic for a very short period of time in defining what things people are going to work on.
If you don't work under time constraints, you could never get anything done because it's a messy process and go on forever.
Back at the shop, it is 6 o'clock, and the 4 mock-ups are ready for showing.
Baskets also can be, if you think you will have more volume, baskets can be put in.
A modular shopping cart you pile hand baskets onto. A high-tech cart that gets you through the traffic jam at checkout.
That you could mount a scanner on the shopping cart so that you as the customer, as you pull it off the shelf, would scan each item.
One that's built around child safety, and another that lets shoppers talk to the supermarket staff remotely.
Yeah, where can I find the yogurt?
But the adults, again, decide more work needs to be done before the mock-ups can be combined into one last prototype.
Why don't we have all the parts come up here for a second?
I think you take a piece of each one of these ideas and kind of back it off a little bit and then put it in the design.
The design is still not there. But there's another motto at IDEO: fail often in order to succeed sooner. And some of the team will be up half the night trying to put together a design that finally does work.
Good.
There it is! So we took the best elements out of each prototype.
The cart, which is designed to cost about the same as today's carts, is different in every other way. What do you think?
Well, I'm very proud of the team. I think it's great.
Does this work for you?
Works for me great. It's also beautiful.
The cart's wheels turn 90 degrees so it can move sideways. No more lifting up the rear in a tight spot. And you shop in a totally different way. The bags are hung on hooks on the cart's frame. Remember, there is no basket here.
At first, I was a little shocked, but I think you have some fantastic ideas here. It needs a little refining, but I think that it's great. I mean, we would want them.
She also gave us some really good comments about how we can make this thing better.
A lot of hours. Also, an open mind, a boss who demands fresh ideas be quirky and clash with his, a belief that chaos can be constructive, and teamwork. A great deal of teamwork. And these are the recipe for how innovation takes place. This is Jack Smith for Nightline in Palo Alto, California.
Just tell us what all things you found worth noting down.
First of all, like the basic design, the brief, we have the brief for whatever product we need. Apart from that, we need a brainstorming on that. Whatever the earlier product is available, using that as an inspiration, we can create a new product. So the main thing is there. Before the brainstorming, what I found in the video is that the consumer feedback that they took makes the process much faster.
Okay.
That was one of the takeaway things from that. And after that, the brainstorming, coming up with different product ideas, and then building several prototypes from it, and taking all the best things from the prototype and creating it into one final prototype, and then presenting it to the consumer.
Okay, I think you overall summed it nicely. Now, just let me ask you one question. How many clear stages could you see in this whole process that they went through?
The first, we have a brief. So if we take the brief as one of the stage, we
Yes.
must understand the brief properly.
Okay.
The first stage. After
Yes.
that, the research is the second stage.
Okay.
In the research only, the consumer feedback, the self, everything comes up. Brainstorming comes up. Then ideation, where we make different paperwork, we find different angles, different product sketches, and after the ideation process, we make prototypes. Lots of prototypes, and after creating a lot of prototypes, we come up with a final product. So I think 5 stages would be safe to say.
Okay, more or less good. Okay, anybody else wants to try this?
How about after the prototyping, you go for user validation and then you can reiterate if there's any ups and downs?
Agreed. After the prototyping, they went for user validation. Yes. Anybody else wants to add anything or subtract anything? Anything? Okay.
Design for manufacturing, like how it's going to get commercialized and like that aspects, like how are you going to manufacture it and put it on a large scale, and how exactly, like how much value it will actually add when it's commercialized. So
okay, did we see this in the video somewhere?
Like they first made the like normal prototypes, like different prototypes, and then one final prototype was very well finished, and it was actually made keeping in mind how actually it will work and look in real life.
Agreed. In fact, your design thinking process, if you see that we had these 3 boxes, I mean 3 circles, right? So one of them was the technical feasibility and manufacturability, a very big concern, well highlighted. That's one of the things we look into. So let's get into we saw this video. What was the importance of this? Because I wanted you guys to watch this so that you yourself realize the 5 stages of design thinking. And I think most of you already have an idea about the 5 stages of design thinking. But we'll take slowly and introduce you to each of the stages. The first stage is all about empathizing. And it's true that they actually did an initial briefing, and that is a part of the empathize process. So you initially do some kind of brief before you go out and talk to customers. We'll go in depth of empathize today, so you will get to see that. But the first process of design thinking is empathizing. It's something similar to what you can see in the image. Whatever is there in the brain of the user, that comes into the brain of the developer, the designer. Okay, so next we move to the process called defining. What is defining? Defining is nothing but whatever you got from your user are stories, which call it insights. So a lot of stories you have collected, and looking at all those insights, you come up with what actually am I going to solve? Because if you just keep on listening to the users, you will immediately go for solution making, which is not going to help you. And let me tell you one thing, there are multiple examples that I have where experienced design thinkers, they make this problem and they face this problem. Because it's natural human tendency. We hear about a problem, immediately we think of solutions. We start thinking of solutions. So very consciously, we stop ourselves from jumping these stages. That's why after empathy, it has to be refined. What is defined? We'll go in depth of it today. Okay. The third stage that we'll see is what ideation is all about. There will be brainstorming, there can be other methods of ideation, a lot of stuff. But ideation comes after you have defined your problem statement really well. This is what I am going to work on. Fourth stage is prototyping. And this prototyping not necessarily has to be a full-fledged, very nice prototype. I know IDEO actually made a shopping cart, but sometimes people, like for small startups, they actually are not able to create a complete full-fledged stuff. Still, shopping cart is easy to make. But what if you need to make a space shuttle, and you want to prototype it? Now you cannot actually make a space shuttle, right? So what part of the space shuttle you actually is thinking of improving? That part only you will be prototyping. So all this stuff comes into when we discuss prototyping. I think when you will go through, you also learn about it. And the last stage is the validation part, where you actually go and talk to your user. Again, mostly the few people who you have spoken before about, show them that this is the product that I have come up with, and do you like it? Any problem you see on this? Once you are there, there is a lot of chance that you will again have to come back to the define stage, because you may find people saying, "Nee, nee, yeah, this is not something that I was looking for. There's a problem in this." All these things will come back here. Why not to the input stage? Anybody can tell me that why the arrow is at define stage and not to the input stage? Whoever feels can unmute themselves and tell me.
So me.
For what?
Did you ask a question? So am I supposed to answer? Or?
Yeah. So my question was that I have kept the arrow till define, and I didn't put it.
I got the question.
Yeah.
So it's because you can't go to empathize because you already know what the users are going through. So you need to maybe refine your problem. You are not working where the user wants you to work. So which is why the user asked you to rework on the define stage. And you don't go to ideate also, because maybe it's a problem with your problem only. Maybe the problem is not very relevant enough for the user. Maybe the user is looking at something else. So ideation won't help. So you have to define your problem again. Redefine.
Correct. Absolutely correct. So at this stage in validation, you are anyways again interacting with your user. So the empathizing is anyways happening over there. And there only you have realized that there is some problem. And when you have realized that problem, you again come back to the define stage to redefine the problem. You made some mistake in the problem itself. Okay. But remember one thing, once you have done the redefine the problem, you don't again come back and go to the prototyping stage or somewhere else. You again have to follow the stages one by one. So you have to again go back and do the ideation for the new redefined problem. Understand what changes you need to do. Make the changes in your prototype and again go back to the validation phase. But again, as you can understand by this time, that there can be multiple times going back from one stage to other. Every time you have the first stage, like in games we do, you have to go through all the stages back. If you have understood that you have made a mistake, go back, but follow all the stages till you reach the validation stage. This is all the 5 stages of design thinking. That's it. I mean, this is what you were supposed to know, and I think you have known. So I guess we are done. Right. So coming back to this question again. Is design thinking an innovation methodology? Still, do you believe innovation is design thinking is an innovation methodology? Anybody wants to answer now? You can just unmute yourself and tell me. It's a mindset. It's essentially is a mindset. Design thinking is a methodology. Definitely, you can innovate using design thinking, which is for sure. But just if you know these 5 stages does not mean that you know everything and you are done with it, and you can go ahead and do design thinking. Because design thinking is a very popular thing right now. Most of the people, they know the design thinking. Organizations have trained their engineers, their managers, everybody in the lineup about design thinking. Still, people are struggling. And the biggest reason people are struggling is because design thinking, if you actually want to see the success of it, you need to have a change in your mindset. And that's what is missing today. So this is why design thinking is more of a mindset than it's actually an innovation methodology. I'll move to empathize stage, but before that, let me ask you guys, do you want to have a small 5-minute break and come back? Or if you are fine, I can continue up to you guys. You just let me know that yes, I want. 5 minutes break. Everybody wants that. Just can I see a few chats coming in the chat box? No, everybody. Okay, great. Then we can continue. I mean, that gives me a little more time to interact. Wow, brilliant. Fine, then let's jump into this phase of empathize. What is there? What is there for us in empathize? like design thinking had different factors, here also we can go through different stages within Empathize itself. And the first stage is identifying your user. I go in depth of what in user, how do you identify, but let me ask you something. What if you don't identify your user and you start making a product or service? So you can see a problem, you start working on it. Why do you need to identify your user? Any one of you can just unmute yourself. Do you need a user? Do you need to know a user? Identify a user before you start designing?
So, because like as the user changes, the requirement changes. Like same product would not be applicable for a child and a grown up.
Okay. So that's okay. Got you. So I am saying that you have to identify which user you are making your product or service for. So you are saying that I have to know whether I'm making it for the child or the elder person, right? That's what you want to say, right, Sumanta?
Yes,
okay, great. Anybody else wants to try this? Okay, I think absolutely. This is why we actually need to understand. If I don't have an idea and we just go ahead and assume that this is a mass market, one funny stuff I want to share here. My very first, I was like very young at the time, and my very first project that I thought of doing as an entrepreneurship venture was something where I had put in a slide. Who is my customer, and I put a food stadium, jam-packed stadium. I showed that picture to the people who were judging that. There was a business plan competition, and I said, and I said that everybody is my customer, and they laughed. So I was thinking, what's wrong with these guys? Like, what's wrong here? Because the kind of solution that I was coming up with, it was applicable for everybody. But it is very important, guys, that it took me a lot of time to realize that what actually it means to define your user really well. When you define your user, you actually start putting the different attributes of the user. What age he or she is, what is the income level he or she is, and where does that person stay, what does that person do, everything, if you know, then your life becomes very easy when you design your business model. So that's why before you go for empathizing, it's very, very, very important to identify your user. Point number 2 comes is overcoming bias. Now, I'll share 2 videos with you, one on design thinking and one on overcoming bias. These are both TED Talks. You should listen to it and you realize that how commonly we make mistakes, how we are naturally programmed to give value to our bias. Most of the time when we say something, when we say that people are in love, I saw 2 people who are in love, and this is something that in that TEDx they talk about. So immediately we think of a guy and a girl, right? We can't think of 2 girls or 2 guys. So that's bias. That's a bias that we always have. This is something very important. You are going for an empathize and you have fixed it user base. You first have to take your bias out of your mind. Then only you can do a real good empathizing. Then we come to the 3rd part, which is observe and engage. This is more of you interacting with your user and trying to understand a few things more about them. We will get in depth of it. 4th is capture stories and emotions. Now, this is something I guess you may have noted in the IDEO shopping cart video. There was one lady who was going around and she was taking pictures, and later on they were analyzing all those pictures, right? So it's very important. It's not about only looking around, writing down, I saw this, I heard this, or you take a audio recorder, record the audio. But it's also important that you take pictures to understand exactly how somebody uses a product or service. It's very important. It was like miracle. I will talk to you about. I'll take a case study where this had a miraculous invention for Mahindra, where we got a patent out of it. But I talk about it. And the last part is where your users should. So you actually need to experience stuff. So if you are designing, say, say if you are designing a crutch, okay, for somebody who needs, for somebody who cannot walk. Now you have to actually feel it, and there is a good book called Creative Confidence. I think again, I think I wish you will be knowing this because if you guys know about IDEO, you guys know about Creative Confidence. Also, people, yeah, oh, you have the book with you. Great, awesome. So yeah, Creative Confidence is a brilliant book. All of you, whoever doesn't know about, yeah, this is all from IDEO only. Yes. So whoever doesn't know about IDEO, start following IDEO as much as possible. They are brilliant in design thinking, and they have been doing a lot of projects on design thinking. And this book talks a lot about how you can improve your creative confidence. So there is one part where you actually, they actually do, like they wanted to understand how bad somebody feels when they go into an hospital. And to go into a hospital, you have to be a patient. So they injured themselves, they went into the hospital, they understood what's wrong, and then they designed. That is how much you actually get into a user's shoe. So,
hello.
Yeah.
Hello.
Yeah,
Abhishek, there's a very interesting question here. So he mentions, by Aves actually. So he mentions that social media spaces like Facebook, they are applicable to everyone with the internet connection, right? So how do we put the concept of empathy there in that scenario? He wants to ask.
I don't know whether I got you correctly. You are saying that if there is a digital footprint, how do I get a how do I empathize? Is it that?
No. Yeah, I'll repeat. A social media space like Facebook, it is available for everybody, right? Like with an internet connection. So everybody from me to my dad to my grandfather can access it if they have an internet connection. So how can they, like, how can Facebook think about empathy in their product or in their design, basically? So because they will have to be, I don't know, they'll have to cater to a huge number of people, right?
Yes, I understood. The question is that if I have a product or a service which is used by a varied type of people, a lot of different kinds of people, different demographic, age, and everything, then how do I define my user like one person?
Yes.
Well, if you see that mostly in these cases where you have one product or a service which you need to push it for a bigger crowd, then you do a step-by-step approach. First day you don't go in and give it to everybody. That's how your thing works. So if you see the advent of Facebook, how it went right now, a lot of elderly people, they are into it. I mean, when I say elderly, I would say rather 60 plus. But 60 plus, they were not there on Facebook probably 2 years back. Right now, there is a sudden surge. And you know what? There is a lot of things that have started coming in Facebook because of this new trend. And what happens is Facebook, when they were not Facebook of today, when they started, any big name you can take, when they start small. They identify one user segment, focus on it, and this is a suggestion for all startups. Whenever you guys are planning to start, you may have a vision, and the vision is to connect people across the world, across the demography, across all ages. But keep that vision, and there's something else called mission. And the mission is about your small steps, how you reach that vision. So when you start, think of one particular user segment, define them well, start it. If you have a product to sell, even for Google also, they started selling a very small, they used to sell a very small garage, and then they moved on to selling to one corporate. Then slowly they kept on going, and they did a brilliant job later on. So that's Facebook is not made in a day. It takes time, though it is right now things are moving exponentially when it comes to digital stuff, things going digitally. But still, that initial few steps has to be focused on one user segment where you gain the experience, you understand that this is how things has to be, and then you improvise to capture the next and the next user segments. But whatever you do, ensure that you have the defined user segments in mind. So let's say Facebook wanted to target the senior citizens in the year 2019. Then before only they had the full idea about this senior citizen group, what they do, how they communicate, what are the different media they are using. So all this data was there before. Now that everything is planned, then they move. It's not that suddenly they have seen people coming and they have tried things out. Okay, so similar approach you can also take when you are looking for a wider customer segment. Going to this.
That is a wonderful insight. Thank you so much.
Okay, great. Moving on to the next slide, I want somebody to volunteer and tell me what it is this. What do you understand from this picture? Anybody has any idea what this picture can be? No idea, right? Clueless, na? Good. I'll come to it. I won't reveal it right now. Let's move on to the next question, next thing. So this is some exciting stuff that I got to do when I was in Mahindra, and I got a lot of design thinking projects to work on. You see the age group of people I'm with. They are all my mentees. They were all new engineers who joined Mahindra, and I have fun working with them in developing new products. And for you, almost 50% of these people, there are almost in total almost 14 people. At least 7 of them has patents, and they got these patents because they have gone through this process. They could come up with new products, and a few of them have started their own business now. They left Mahindra and they started their own business now. Now, through their story, I will explain you the Empathize process. Okay. So, first thing is, as we said, that identify the user. So, 3 things that you need to do. Who do you care for? Who is the one having the problem you're assuming they're having, and what problem you assume they have? Okay. Now, tell me one thing. What is the difference between the first 2 questions? Who do you care for, and who is the one having the problem? What is the difference? Anyone wants to volunteer? Yes, Alisha. Prashant next.
For example, like when the user and the customer are different, like when parents go to buy toys for their kids, so that kids choose the toys, but at the same time parents make the final decision. So parents are the customers, but the users are the kids. So
okay.
Those two, like, so which problem are we trying to solve? Are we trying to solve the problem of customers who will then again become the users also, or
okay.
are we trying to solve the problem of the end, like end of the chain?
Okay, got you. Sashank?
Who do you care for is more of a personal thing, and who is the one having the problem you're assuming to solve is like more inclined towards empathy.
Can you repeat, Sashank? I just missed your last line.
Yeah, the second question is more about empathy. Like it is question answers for a society, and the first question is basically more of a personal thing. I mean,
okay.
if I'm a parent, I would first figure out the solution for my kid if he has a problem or
okay.
if he needs something. And being a designer, if I'm looking forward for empathy towards the society. The second question answers that. What I figured out.
Okay, fine. Tanish?
So it's the difference between customer and consumer.
Okay.
We care for is the customer, and the one who is having problem is the consumer.
Okay.
Consumer is going to use the product, and customer is going to pay for the product. They may be the same also, but
some cases they are the same. Yes, I got you. In fact, all of you have pointed out the same thing. So yeah, I understand that how I wrote probably is what comes in your mind. But one more thing that I wanted to highlight over here, mainly because you guys I believe that all of you are planning to start your own startup. So this is this one single line I have added mainly to help you do that. First thing is, who do you care for? And my first entrepreneurial venture, which actually I could launch, was called We Care For You. And when people used to ask me that who do you care for, I used to care for the geriatric population, people who are older than 60 years of age. Now, who is the one having the problem is where I was going to my niche within that 60 plus age group. So I was telling elderly people who were traveling alone, reaching a railway station, and was not getting the porters or anybody to help them out, is having the problem. So now I know that I care for geriatric group. Okay, so all of you will find out there will be one category who you care for. So that will help you to go beyond that, and then you will redefine that among these people I care for, whose problem am I actually trying to solve? That's how you sharpen. Like we sharpen our pencils, you sharpen your thing to so razor sharp focus that finally whatever you design is going to be like butter, like you can aramse do it. It's brilliant. Okay, so that's why it's very important that you identify your user. Third question was, that's pretty straightforward. What problem you assume is the segment having. Here you can see I have highlighted in red assume, because at this point of time we are not in the defined stage. We have not done the empathy. Since we have not done the empathy, we are assuming. If you remember again, going back to the ideal shopping cart example, there initially when they were doing the briefing, they were talking about children getting injured and all those stuff they were talking. Those were briefs. They were assuming that this may be a problem, but they actually didn't know whether that's actually the problem. Only after they do empathy, they were agreeing to the hypothesis that they were making. Fine. So this is the first stage of empathy. We move on to the next stage. And here you can see these people I was talking about. What they are actually doing is, I asked them simply, in this board, start writing. So we were going out to interview, create a product for farm side. So Mahindra Farm Division was looking for a new kind of product, and they had no clue what new product they are going to make. They wanted to create a competitive advantage over whatever others were saying. So we said, okay, let's first figure out, and we went out. So I got them and I asked them, go ahead and put down what farmer, what comes to mind, everything that comes in mind. This is exactly what you are also going to do. You have to jot down everything that you believe of the user. One of the biggest bias that we could see when people started writing is that farmers are poor. We were in Tamil Nadu, and believe me, there are some farmers who are can't say equivalent to Ambani's, but they were very, very, very rich. Very rich. Okay, so we interacted with them as well. And then I mean, one of the things that I started writing about farmers in Tamil Nadu was, how will they look like? What will they be wearing? Where we will go? What kind of, how are they going to greet us? So there were a lot of assumptions, and we can't imagine that what bias goes on in our mind. Now, consciously, what we need to do is to talk to people with whom these people interact a lot. So what we did is we spoke to dealers of Mahindra tractors and other stuff, and they gave us a little more idea about exactly how these people are. The people with whom I was going ahead with this project, they had no idea about farmers before. They were people from the city. They had no idea about how a farm looks like. And the assumption was mostly what movies show us or some news channel show us and all that. So it was very important to break. Similarly, in your startups also, you will find similar situation where you will have a lot of assumptions and you will have to come out of all those assumptions. When on the field, then you have to find out reasons why you should be able to negate your assumptions. So if somebody is saying that farmers will be poor, and then when he goes to the field, then he sees that he probably stays in a small place only, but he has say 10 cows, and that guy, one of those guys, he asked, how much does one cow cost? He said approximately 1.5 lakhs. Okay, so 15 lakhs he was spending only on cows. Great, you definitely is not a poor farmer. I understand. So that's how thing goes. You look for everything, and then you realize that whatever assumption I had were my confirmation bias, and I have to come up. So this is the second part. Part number 3, capture stories and emotions. And here is where this thing came. This is something we call the draw your day. And I'll explain what happens. Before that, let me tell you that what you should be doing. You should be recording stuff. You should be recording your interactions, taking photographs and all fine. But remember, don't forget to ask permission before you do. You will otherwise offend people. So one of the experience that I had, the same entrepreneurship venture, We Care For You, that we were doing for this elderly people. We were interacting with the police, the porters, and I was talking to somebody, and my co-founder, she just took a picture, and the moment she took a picture, this guy got furious. Why are you taking my picture? And this was in Pune station, and he didn't speak with us. So things may go very wrong if you make that mistake. So ensure that you take permission before you do any kind of recording. Don't hide your stuff. Sometimes I see people hiding their recorders, but if they see, it will be a massacre. So don't do that. Upfront, you can just ask the permission that whether you should be taking the picture or not. Okay, so I'll come again to this picture. I'll explain what had happened, and these are a few glimpses of how we captured the emotions and all. Here you can see this guy. You can see my cursor. This guy, he is drawing something, right? And this was important for this Draw Your Day stuff. So this is what he was drawing. He was essentially drawing as a new engineer in Mahindra, what are the different stages he went through. So he first drew, you can see auditorium somewhere here. He's talking about that we were given some lectures in auditorium, then we went into learning designing, then we went to manufacturing. He was showing all this to the farmers so that the farmers become confident to draw their day. Now I'm explaining what this thing is. This is something that we asked a farmer, that draw your one single day, how it is like. And what he has drawn, this thing is essentially the tractor. Okay, and he is putting himself here on the top, and what at the back, the tail kind of stuff you see is what we called an implement. This gets attached to the tractor, and this is used for preparation. So he said that 7 a.m. he starts doing all this, and you can see here in this picture, 9 a.m. he got down. 9:30 a.m. he is doing something. So we asked, what is this? He said, my food comes. So I have breakfast at that time. So then we asked, okay, if breakfast is at 9:30, what were you doing at 9 a.m.? Why you get down? You know what he said? He said, you need to come, no? So we don't know. We said, no, we don't know. Why do you come? Then he said, actually, your implement, this is called a rotavator. Rotavator, it is in the mud, no? So it becomes very dirty and it does not perform. So that's the reason why we need to come down to clean it. He otherwise would never have told us that this is a problem he faces, because this is a norm for them. They're okay with it. And no rotavator making company would have ever known this fact that this is a problem. Now that was an eye-opener for us. And that's how powerful design thinking is. We got to know this. We started doing research on it. We validated everything. And then we could come up with a product. I can't show you because that's right now the patent is being filed. So we got a new blade design of the rotavator, and that partially, not completely, but at least it has reduced 70% of the mud sticking to the rotavator using this methodology. Finally, what is important is you actually get into a shoe of the customer. So of the people you could see there, one of the girls, she was working on designing a woman-friendly tractor. Okay, and I will show you a small video of her driving the tractor. She is doing idea. So she actually tried that, but then this is where she was actually proposing us that it was pretty easy for me because I was wearing full pants. How do I empathize with people? Mainly we were designing for Tamil Nadu. So how do I empathize with women in Tamil Nadu who wear saris? So next day she came in a certain something, and then she painted so that she cannot move her leg a lot. And then she got into this. and it's then that she realized what are the different problems people face. So you need to be that much vigilant in getting in the shoes of your customer before you start designing something. So now this is the question for you guys. Is the empathy stage clear? Okay, Tanish has a question. It seems, Tanish, can you unmute yourself?
Sir, so what I understood is empathize is how you talk to the customer, you get to know what is the problem. So I want to ask, how do you exactly get started? Like I'm sitting at home one day and I think, let's do design thinking, let's do empathize. So I go to my neighbor, I go to my building people, I tell them, I did this one day, so I told them, I want to talk to you just to empathize. Then I was like, how do I start? What questions do I ask? What do I note down? How does it happen? Should I ask why, how?
So first thing that you do, follow the empathy stage. First thing is identify your user. It's not about you want to design thinking. Okay, forget design thinking. After you have learned, as I said, it's not an innovation methodology. It's a mindset. So you first become a design thinker. A design thinker cannot deviate from the process. So the first thing is identify user. Okay, so identify user ka first question, what was that? It was that who do you care for? You don't go to your neighbor at all. You first think ki, for whom do I care the most? If you care the most for your parents, then see, my thing when I started off with this we care for you were my parents. The reason was I was working outside. I mean, I was out of Kolkata for a long time, and I was missing my. I mean, not I was missing my parents. It was more of my parents were missing me because they were getting old, and I was worried about them. When I thought of that, I thought that if they are having this problem, definitely elderly people across the country is also facing the same problem. So I identified a place in Pune where there is a lot of families where the kids they have went out of the country itself, and the elderly parents they stay alone. So what kind of problems they face is what was in my mind at that time, and at that time I didn't know what problem they are facing. So first thing that I did is I identified, yes, I want to look for do something for the geriatric population. Now I had multiple options. People gave me options of going ahead and doing something for the people who are in the old age homes. There were other kind of elderly people also. But then I realized that my calling is more for people who are staying alone because in their home, not in old age homes, in their home only. But because their children are outside, they are traveling alone, they are doing all this. So they are not, I would say, not affluent, but probably the upper middle class people. So I have defined that in my mind, and then I was searching where will I find them. Then I found a place called Kothurur in Pune, and I said, fine, let me find out people. And I found out a place where there's an open club. Old people meet each other, greet each other, they do exercise together, and all those stuff. Then I started interacting with them. Now that's where I started empathizing. And when you go with this thing in mind that I'm going to empathize with you, empathy doesn't work. Empathizing has to happen where you start. There's a calling within you where you feel like I just want to understand why are you in pain, and I want to understand that what pain are you in. That's when the original empathizing happens. Okay, so give time for that. You don't start thinking what questions you will be asking. Let them, so you can as well start with, okay, so how are you? What are you doing? And how is your day today? If there is a pain on that day, they will talk about it. If they're talking about it, then ask open-ended questions. Don't ask like, is this your problem? This is confirmation bias. If you are asking that kind of question, you know that you are going into confirmation bias. So first you will write about, follow the process, right? You will write about everything that you wanted to, you have an idea about that particular user segment. And then you say that this is the problem I feel they have, but let me validate. So you don't speak first, let them speak. And through their answers, try to collect whether what you have thought of about them is true or not. And slowly as you build up, no, if you don't go in a hurry, when you build up slowly, then you will realize that you are getting very valuable insights. And when we move on to the define stage, you will realize that how you take that insights into formulating a problem statement. Got it? Could I answer you, Tanish?
Yeah, somewhat. But I have a follow up. How do you define your audience? You said in the first stage. So I answered, who do you care for? So I believe everyone cares for their parents, friends, family. That's it. So do you go to them only? So is it that?
No. See, it's not about who you care for. See, I'll give you some examples. There is one, one of the teams I mentor in SIDM. They are working on protecting pet animals. Sorry, not pet animals, stray dogs. Okay. So they are doing some kind of, they have created a startup for stray dogs. Now, it's not that they don't care about their parents or anybody in the earth that they are caring for stray dogs. It's what that if they are doing something for them, they will find out that this is what I actually wanted to do. That's the inner calling. That this is I want to do. I can do it for my life. Every time if somebody asks me to do something for it, this is the segment that I can dedicate for. And that's where the reason why this guy started doing that is because he was traveling on this Pune Mumbai highway, and he has seen a lot of stray dogs getting in accidents, dying because of the fast moving vehicles. That started, there's a story, there has to be always a story. And since my worry always was my parents were not doing good, it was not that just they were alone, there were some health issues that they were going through. That's why it's a problem that I wanted to care for and I wanted to solve. Otherwise, probably I would not have looked into my parents, and probably, if you ask me, if not geriatric population, then what? Then probably what I am doing is what I would have done. My calling is in mentorship. My calling is in seeing somebody going into, achieving success because I could mentor them. So that's the second. And since I could come back to Kolkata, I am not working on that we care for you anymore. I am doing this. So that changes. You will realize that, Tanish. Once you start doing it, you will realize that there is a inner calling, and you will start working on it.
Yes. I think I have one more follow-up question, but it's like 4:30. Should I ask it at the end?
Yeah, you can connect with me later on. We can take this offline also. Fine.
Okay.
So now, when you are feeling that you are done with the empathy stage, I would say hold on, and you should have answers to all these questions. If you have it, yes, you can move on to the next stage. This is again, I will share it with you so you can have this when I share. But these are the 6 pointers about your user. If you have knowledge about, you can go ahead with the next stage, which is define. So I move on to define now. And again, like empathy, we have few stages. So I guess you remember by now that we ended interacting with the customer. We have collected their stories, their emotions and everything, and we have experienced what they go through, right? First thing after that is pattern bucketing. This is something that you have seen in the IDEO cart video also. What they were doing essentially, after they came back, they had those post-its and they were posting. You can see that one conversation at a time and all those stuff were written. So they were building up upon each other's ideas. They were building upon what they have learned. So somebody says that, I have seen that small child, he was trying to get into one of the shopping carts. And somebody else said that, yeah, I saw this. And then they could merge and say, okay, so actually they try to do this. They feel very probably restless. So their parents are moving around and they are doing something which is not interesting. They feel bored. So can we engage the children? That's where, that's the ideation part. Can we engage in the ideation part? But understanding that there is a boredom in the children is coming out of when you are making the pattern bucketing. So somebody has clicked the picture of a child who is making a very sad face, or somebody clicked the picture where the child is getting into a shopping cart. All this goes under the bucket that children, when they go with their parents into a shopping mart, they feel bored, right? So that kind of patterns you have to identify and start bucketing. The next thing that comes in is creating a user persona. Here, you are actually going to create something what we call the customer journey map or the user journey map. And this is, I think, most of you have understood by now. Based on the patterns that you have collected, you will be creating the user persona. Third thing is, like a cranky small child, ask yourself why multiple times. Why is this a problem? And if you go multiple times, then only you will start realizing that why exactly the underneath there is one single problem to solve. Finally, you have to create one very strong how might be question. When you run how might be, and later on you have the product, look at the product, look at the how might be and say that this is what I wanted to solve. How might we do this? This product, is it solving it? If yes, okay. If no, I have to rework. So that's why it's very important you define the how might be question. So going back to the story mode again, bucketing pattern. So this is what you can see. This team, they like as the IDEO team, they started bucketing stuff. There are a lot of post-its you can see over here. They were putting under different headers that they feel, and they started creating the user persona. Creating persona, anybody can volunteer to tell me what will user persona may look like? What should be the main characteristics that should be there in a user persona? Anyone wants to try? I can see Tanish and Avisha again. Any new faces? New people who wants to try? Everybody can do it, right? No one else. Then I have to again go to. Okay, Avisha, try this.
What the user says, what the user feels, how they act it out, and then what actually goes in their mind. So feeling, thoughts, expression, like these are the few things that comes under user persona, and how, like, what are the activities, what are they day to day doing, and how they actually maneuver around that problem.
Okay, Tanish, try now.
Age group, gender, occupation, what they do in their leisure time, and what. No, I think that's it.
Okay. Anybody else wants to try this? Okay, Freya.
You will also note down their behavior traits, as in what is it that makes them different from your other stakeholders that you've noted down. So a specific behavior trait.
Okay, good. So you are actually making somebody come live. So going back to what Avisha said, Avisha, what you said is goes a part of it goes into the empathy phase. You actually have jotted down all those stuff. Here you're defining, right? You're creating the persona. So based on whatever you have collected, you are drawing the figure that this is, and this is where Tanish was born, that you write that this is the age group, this is what he or she is doing, this is what where he will be or she be. But again, as you guys said, activity, the whole activity around what they are doing. So the activity where they face this problem, or while doing it, they face this problem, before, during, and after. You have to define that for the customer journey map. Okay, you have to tell that before, say, somebody faces a problem. Just to give you an example, that is, somebody says that right now during this COVID, I am going to office. The bus stand is 700 meters from my place, and I wear a mask, and then I go, and I don't want to touch my face once I am out. So this 700 meters, I mean, I am always wearing the mask, and I feel very suffocated because of it. Now, this is where the problem is. He feels suffocated. Now, what he does before this activity, so he's putting on the mask, whatever things he's doing, he's packing his bags, what are the things that he's packing his bag, these all things comes in before the activity. During activities, once he has put on the mask, he's going out, walking 700 meters, going to the bus stand, touching the bus, and those all stuff. Once he has got down, probably in the office, he is again sanitized, and then he can again take the mask off. So once he is done opening the mask, what he is doing? These three actually creates your user journey map. Once you're done with that, using these three emoticons, put the different activities. So you can put, he does first thing before the activity, he packs his bag. Okay, packs his bag. whether it's a happy stuff, it's a sad stuff, or it's a neutral. So really packing the bag is more or less neutral for him. Doesn't matter, doesn't make much changes. You put a neutral sign over there. Similarly, when you say that now he is saying goodbye to his his family. So happy, sad, may not be sad because he's not going forever. He's just going to office. So it may be, let's say that's the happy. If they are not there to say goodbye at the time, he may be sad. So he's happy about it. You make a happy smile over there. Likewise, your aim will be to have in all these stages the happy smiley coming and all the sad smiley going. Wherever he is having to wear the mask and feeling suffocated, that's all everywhere it is a sad smiley, right? So your aim is to identify how many happy smileys you can get only during that phase. That's it. That's what your idea is. Okay, so that's what your creating user persona is all about. Multiply. Yes, Avish has a question. Okay.
But isn't like user persona and customer journey map different? I mean, they serve the different purpose. So, like, I got confused. How can you like mix those two things?
No, you won't. They are different. Under the user persona, I have put it, but it has to be two different stuff. In my activity, you will realize that it has to be very different. What Tanish spoke of is what user persona will be like. You coming up with an assumption that, not assumption, by this time you already know it, that this person is like this, he has this, that is user persona, everything. Then journey map is where you are going to focus. That's why this is coming here. I clubbed it. Yes, very well pointed out. Thank you. I'll mention it separately. This is very important. They are different. Okay. So after this, we go into the multi-buy analysis. Everybody understand multi-buy analysis? If you don't, just ping me here in the comment box. If you don't understand what is multi-buy analysis or have not done in it. Anybody feels that? No, I think everybody knows about multi-buy analysis. I am going a little in speed because we don't have much time. So multi-buy analysis is nothing but you have a problem and you keep on asking why, like a cranky baby, that we can't go to the park today. Why we can't go to the park today? Because there are people outside. So why are people outside? What is the problem if there are people outside? Because in corona situation, you don't actually mingle people. Why don't we mingle people? And finally, you will get something very sharp. For example, okay, before that, okay, Krishna, I need your help on one more video to play. And this is, if you can search in YouTube, Clayton Christensen, job to be done. I have the video. Just let me know whether you can hear the video.
So let me start with a silly example of milkshakes. One of the big fast food restaurant companies was trying to goose up the sales of its milkshake.
You can hear it? Okay. So so this is on this is so I'll just give you a background of this video. This is Clayton Christensen. He's a great innovator. I mean the father of innovation. For it, he coined the term disruptive innovation. And unfortunately, this year only he passed away. So, so here in this video, he's talking about his experience in how he actually ran something that is very valuable for us to understand, job to be done. And he explains it how he did it for a company selling milkshakes. Okay. Listen to the video.
Restaurant chains in America. I don't know if you've heard of them, called McDonald's.
Guys, can you hear?
They were trying to increase the sales of their milkshakes. And these are very sophisticated marketing people. And if you walked into their restaurant, on the board in front of you of the menu, and they actually have profile, a demographic profile of the quintessential customer that buys these individual products. And so they had a profile of the quintessential milkshake customer. It turns out that Clay Christensen fits perfectly in that profile. Well, then McDonald's would invite people who fit that profile into conference rooms, and they'd give them versions of the milkshake that they're thinking of introducing. And they'd ask them, could you tell us how we could improve the milkshake so that you'll buy more of them? They would get very careful feedback from the customers. They would then improve the milkshake on those dimensions, and it had no impact on sales or profits ever. And so we convinced them that there's a different and a better way to think about the situation, and that is, don't understand the customer, understand the job. And we said there's just got to be something out there, a job needing to be done, that is causing people to hire a milkshake to do the job. And we have to figure out what the job is. So one of our colleagues stood in a restaurant for 18 hours one day and just took very careful notes. What time did he buy it? What time was it when he bought the milkshake? What was he wearing? These are almost all males, incidentally. Was he alone? Did he buy other food with it? Did he eat in the restaurant or get in the car and go off with it? It turned out that about half of the milkshakes were sold in the very early morning. They were always alone. It was the only thing they bought, and they all got in their car and drove off with it. So to figure out what the job was that was causing them to buy these milkshakes, we came back the next morning, and my colleague and I positioned ourselves outside the restaurant so that as these people were coming out with their milkshake in hand, we'd confront them and say with language like, look, I got a problem with what you're doing here. What job were you trying to do that caused you to come here to McDonald's at 6:30 in the morning and hire that milkshake? And they would struggle to answer that, but we try to help them by asking, look, think about the last time you're in the same situation, needing to get the same job done, but you didn't come here to hire that milkshake from McDonald's. What did you hire? Well, it turned out that they had all the same job to do, and that is they had a long and boring drive to work. And they just needed something to do while they were driving to be engaged in life and not to fall asleep. One hand had to be on the wheel, of course, but gosh, somebody gave me another hand and there's nothing in it. And I just needed something to do while I'm driving. And they're not hungry yet, but they know that they'll be hungry by 10 o'clock. So they also need something that can just go thunk and stay in their stomach for the whole morning. Good question. What do I hire when I don't hire a milkshake? And one of them said, you know, I never thought about this before, but last Friday I hired a banana to do the job. Take my word for it, never hire bananas. They're gone in 3 minutes. You're hungry by 7:30. And another one said, if you promise not to tell my wife, I hire donuts, maybe twice a week. But they don't do the job either. They crumb all over my clothes. It makes my fingers gooey. They're gone too fast. When I have this job to do, and I come here to McDonald's and hire this milkshake, it is so viscous. It takes me 23 minutes to suck it up the thin little straw. Who knows what the ingredients are? I don't, and I don't care because I just know it's still in my stomach at 10 o'clock. And it turns out that it fits right in my cup holder. And actually a great thing about it is if I forget what I'm doing and I turn it sideways, it doesn't flow out. And it turns out that the milkshake does the job better than any of the competitors. And the competitors are not Burger King milkshakes, but it's bananas, donuts, bagels, Snickers bars, coffee, and a bunch of other things. And it turns out that in the afternoon and evening, it's hired for a very different job, which you don't need to worry about. But Peter Drucker said the same thing before we thought of it, and that is that the customer rarely buys what the company thinks it's selling him. But if you understand what the job is that the customer is trying to do, then it becomes very clear.
Krishna, we can stop here.
What it is that you have
Yeah.
to build the
I think
job.
it's already conveyed what actually wanted you guys to go through. So did you realize what exactly Clayton Christensen was talking about? You are coming with a product or service, and most of the time we end up thinking Flipkart, say Big Basket's rivals, Untitled rival. No, there are other rivals too. The local grocery sellers are the rivals too. The people who come to sell the same stuff, they are rivals too. So it's all about you realizing that why somebody is hiring you. If the one vendor who is actually taking the car, getting in front of you, is providing at-home service, then he is the same kind of a competitor, just like Amazon and Big Basket. And Big Basket should be worried about him as well. So the question is, what job your user wants to get done, and while you are designing your multi-why analysis, doing the multi-why analysis, you should be able to understand by the time you are done the multi-why analysis what job exactly your user wants to get done. Fine. So we move on to the next part, which is where you write the how might we statement. And here I will just show the example that we got for the blade design, the one that I was talking about. And our how might we question was something like this. How might we stop the mud from sticking to the rotavator blade? Rotavator is the implement. And see, this is never something that they spoke of, right? The user said that I get down to clean the rotavator. Now, then I said that why do we need to clean the rotavator? Then it was like the rotavator goes into the field, so there is mud. That's why. So why, if there is mud and there is the rotavator, then what is the worry about it? It's just because the mud gets stick to it. That's what the problem is. And then they say, okay, so I have to work on something. How might I ensure if I can solve that problem, the whole problem of coming down just because of that is gone. Imagine, this may sound very simple, somebody getting down from the tractor and cleaning rotavator. But the important part over here is when he is getting down, he is stopping his engine, getting down, cleaning this thing, and this is not a small activity. This takes almost close to 20 minutes. Had that been not the case, then he could have completed his field at least 20 minutes before. That gives him additional time, and this he does twice in a day at least. So 40 minutes if he gets, he can do another field and he can earn quite a lot of money. So it ultimately comes down to how profitable you are making your customer. You remember the secret equation of innovation? There we have the cost, there we have the useful attributes, and this is one non-useful attribute. I am trying to reduce it. That's it. So you have to understand always, whenever you are thinking of something, your how might you question, look at it, that if I do this, if I solve this problem, am I making some changes in the equation that I started off with? If you are doing it, you are doing a good job. So, is define stage clear to all of you? But again, no, it's not yet complete because you have to have the set of questions, right? So what questions? These are the set of questions. I'm not going to each one of this. Again, I'm telling you, this is going to go to you. So you will have the questions with you. And if you have answered to all these questions, then you know that you are ready to move on to the next stage, which is ideation. Now, I'll talk about the assignment to you. And this is something that you can directly send to me in my email ID. I will share my contact details in the next slide. So this assignment is go to this link. This is kind of a funny video. Though this is an ad, but this is a fun video. Just watch it and understand that there are two things that you need to do about it. You have to empathize with the buyer. There is a buyer and there is somebody in the customer service department. They are interacting. So you have to empathize with the buyer and create a persona. That can be completely your imagination, how you think of it. So let your confirmation bias come out as much as possible over there and plan. So analyze, but remember one thing, whenever you're putting up persona, let's say you say that this guy probably earns in the range of 80 lakhs per annum. If you say so, you have to give a reason why you have done that. Okay, so I want to understand how you are analyzing, okay, and create a journey map for that person. There is a problem that he's talking about, so create the journey map and the persona. Then do a multi-why analysis, write the job he wants to get done, and in one line, just say that what should be your or might be to solve it. Okay. Remember to use this subject line, assignment dash batch A startup in crisis, and send it to me in my mail ID. I'll share that. Further to this, whatever we have spoken, there are 2 TED Talks that I have spoken about. It's a brilliant talk of dog dates for MRI machine. He designed, so he was at that time with General Electric, and he designed an MRI machine. It's a fantastic video. If time had been there, I would have played it here. But this is something where he designed an MRI machine for kids, and why he realized it was important to do. All this he talks, and you will get here from directly from him. So I don't want to tell you the whole story. It's better you listen to him directly. The other one is overcoming bias, and again, this is the speaker actually does a very good exercise before, and you will end up understanding that we all have our own biases. Okay. So this is my contact details, and I'll share this with you. So anyways, you will get all the details how to connect me, and we can have further discussions. The first is where the email ID is. You have to share in that email ID your assignment, and it will take a little time for me and a little caught up this week. So bear with me, but I will definitely give you a feedback on each one of your assignments. I promise that. So that's it from my end, and I'm so happy that I had time. So 5 minutes we have, so I guess we can take some questions, Krishna.
Yes, please. Can
Yeah.
take questions.
So just 1 minute, huh? Just let me stop share. I can see you guys. Yes, Tanish has a question. Yes.
Mridula, the entire PPT will be shared with all of you, the participants, so you can get the assignment screen from there also.
Okay. Sure.
Yeah, please. Yeah. Guys, anybody has any questions or you want to ask, you can either unmute yourself and ask questions with your videos, or you could even type it on the chat box. Sir will be happy to answer.
Yes. So I can see Tanish raising hand. Tanish, yes, your question, please.
Sir, I have a question in the empathize stage. When we go to the person, why can't we just ask him, like after some conversation, what is the problem you want us to solve? So if we ask that, straight away we'll get our answer, and we'll know exactly what he wants. Because what happens when we go to derive the problem, we may end up finding the wrong problem. So we best have it from his mouth what he wants.
Exactly. I concur with you, Tanish. But I just have one quote you can refer to this, okay? And that was from Henry Ford, okay? And he says something. He said that if I would have asked my customers what they want, they would have said faster horses. And we would have seen a lot of horses around us. Okay, so see how it works is, yes, you are absolutely bang on. It works most of the time, but not all of the time. Why? Because if you even look into how Steve Jobs came up with new concepts of how we use laptops today. So most of the time, customers may not know what problems they face. Now that may sound funny, but that's very, very true. Why it is so? Because the example that I told you about, this customer, I could have asked him, and in fact we did ask him, so what are the different problems you face? One of the problems that he were talking about were all business related. He first started off saying that, there are a lot of tractors now, so my business has shrinked. I'm not able to earn that much money that I used to earn. So these are problems that we could listen, and definitely if I can solve that, he would be very happy. Now there is something called capacity, and when you are going as an innovator, there is a capacity of yours also. You may not be able to do some policy level changes, probably something that requires the central government to take action, or any government or corporation, whoever. So sometimes these may be things where you see that things are probably not in your control. In that case, what you look for is, what can I do? And for that, you need to know more about your user. So you do is observe, just observe what they are doing, what they are saying, and you will unearth problems that they may feel is a norm. Now this farmer, because all other farmers also face the same issue, they never felt that this rotavator becoming, if you see on the field how it looks like, there is this much of mud that gets stick to a blade which is very sharp thing, it becomes so blunt. Now when it becomes blunt, it is not pulverizing the soil at all, pulverizing is mixing. So just imagine you have a mixer grinder, and the mixer grinder you are not washing, the blades, they become thick with residues, and now when you put something, they don't actually chop, right? Then it doesn't help. But somebody is not telling you this is a problem. How crazy is that? Because they believe that this is how it has to be. What if you come up with some new ideas and then say that, why not, let's look at it. How many times did we say that our fans, that a lot of dust get into our fans and we need to clean is a problem? We hardly spoke about it. But see, there is some company who is actually created some kind of fan which does not allow to stick dirt in it, right? So these are things that people observe and then come out. And if you can come up with a solution which you have observed and provided, if somebody can come and ask, then everybody will have the same solution, right? You don't have a competitive advantage on anybody. Everybody asks that person, they get a solution and they know what to do, right? But if you can identify something that even that person don't know about, then there lies your competitive advantage. Understood? Okay. Any other question?
Sure. I've heard somewhere that in the ideation stage, you must not criticize your problem statement, because the idea may seem very impractical and very unrealistic, but it may also happen. Is that true?
So, you should not criticize the problem statement, or you should not criticize the idea given by somebody else. It may sound very crazy, but you still won't criticize it. That's what you meant to say, right, Tanish? Okay, yeah, it's actually true. We call it the divergent thinking methodology, where there is a problem. First release, you cannot say कि नहीं होता है, ऐसा नहीं हो सकता. You never say that. If you do that, then you will block very good ideas from coming. So that's why you actually encourage every idea, and then from divergent thinking we go to convergent thinking. And there we have ideation. There are different methods to do it, different parameters to do it. Like we said, customer technical visibility and economic viability. Beyond that is environmental sustainability. These are the 4 factors. Put all the ideas and then start heading. A very crazy idea and high on customer desirability, below inclusivity, not possible at all at this point of time. Then overall, you see what is the score. If you see the score also goes down, then you it's not the idea that you take it immediately. But this stays in my radar because user desirability is high. If user desirability is high, one day somebody will be liking it.
So your voice was cracking. Could you repeat the last some lines?
Last few lines we missed, yeah.
Okay. So you do a ideation ranking after you are done with the divergent thinking. All the ideas you put, you start rating each idea. So you have multiple reasons to put that. It can be technical feasibility, user desirability, economic viability, and environmental sustainability also. Now, say one crazy idea comes, which sounds very good for the user. So user desirability is very high, but potentially the technical feasibility right at this point is low. That you don't have a technology to support to make that happen. That's when your overall score comes down. You will first look at the first top 3 where the maximum score is high. You will work on it, but you won't neglect the one which was low just because technical feasibility is not there. That can be a futuristic idea. You can allot some member of your team to work on that and say that future may, this is something that I am going to work on and disrupt the industry as a whole, right? So just imagine, I don't know how many of you know the very nitty-gritties about Kodak and why it got disrupted. You will be amazed to know that first Digicam was made by Kodak themselves. There was somebody called Steve Sassoon who had made the Digicam, but nobody wanted to pursue that idea forward. And going ahead, we know what happened to it. So this is very important that you actually don't neglect ideas that are not feasible right at this moment. you keep them. That's why you should accept all crazy ideas also. Any other question? Okay, so I guess there is no more questions. Over to you, Krishna.
Yeah. So I think if there are any other further questions, probably they could reach out to you on your email ID and they could mail you the questions, so then you can get the answers. Or if you guys have any questions, we have a WhatsApp group. You can share it with us. We will share it with Sayantan and get back with the answers to you guys. So thank you very much, Sayantan sir, for sparing your valuable time and energy and sharing all so many wonderful resources for them to learn and understand the basics of how you need to identify a problem, how you need to look at your customer segment, how do you need to empathize with them. And I think the examples were also really well with Mahindra's rotameter, the rotary machine, on how you actually solve the problem of the blades. It was really amazing to hear all those questions and hear all those case studies. So I hope all of the participants have taken a lot of information from this. Thank you so much, sir. You're always, we'll always be indebted to you for this kind session you gave it to us.
You're most welcome.
Thank you so much. So participants, all of you, so the next session for all of you, I'm just making this clear. So how the program is planned. So I just want, maybe if you don't, just give me 2 minutes and just completing it with. So how the program is designed, we have 6 sessions, which is based on startup fundamentals and design thinking to understand how to identify your customer based on different topics, which we had shared with you on the brochure. I guess you all have the brochures which were emailed to you, right? So the next session which will be happening for you is on Monday on the startup and crisis course. But apart from the course, we have organized 3 bonus guest lectures that will be happening every Saturday. Okay, please make a note in your calendars. Every Saturday of June, like until the end of this month of June, we'll be having guest sessions. And your next session for this batch will be on Monday, but the guest session will be on Saturday. Okay, please make a note. So the guest session is going to be taken by Priyanjit Ghosh. He's another wonderful mentor in startups and has been guiding a lot of students and early age startups for starting their own initiatives and giving them ideas and finalizing things. So I think we'll share the poster with you. He's the co-founder and business head of Quad Vector Labs, and he's also co-founded Logi.ai, winning the AI platform to perform diagnosis of diseases. So he would be speaking with a little bit about medical aspects also, but it is not just medical, but it will be talking on general principles of how you need to look at startups in a different angle. Okay, so the meeting ID would be shared to you on your respective groups. It will be Saturday 11 a.m. Okay, the next guest session, and the next session for the same batch would be on
Monday.
Monday, correct. Monday, same time. Okay. So thank you all so much. Thank you for sparing your time, and we end the session here. All of you can. We have also shared the feedback form on the link on the group. Please fill the feedback form. It's also available on the Zoom chat, so we understand how to look at improving our sessions every time. Thank you so much.
Okay. Bye.
Bye. Thank you so much, sir.
Sir, if you have time for one more question.
Yeah, tell me.
I couldn't find your number on WhatsApp, so I was like, how can I contact you? So how do we empathize right now in this situation?
Oh, good question. How you empathize right now? It's a very difficult situation, to be honest. But digital footprints is what we have left of people. So empathize mostly. That's very important that you understand how people are communicating over WhatsApp, over Facebook, what they are living in Instagram. So you target initially, as I said, follow the process, identify whom you are targeting, and find out where you will get that person. If possible, go on a call. And right now, of course, you can't watch the expressions and all, but so this process actually, if you go off online mode, then it will just be a little more dragged. Otherwise, you can you could have done it very easily if what would have been offline. So it takes time to realize, but you can get into a voice call or a video call and try to understand from people how they are behaving, what they're feeling.
There's one more question, Hello.
Yeah.
There's one more question from Tamanna. She's asking, what are your opinions on how we could sustain a better future using tech, basically AI and IoT, and combine it with design?
It's it's a very big thing to talk about. It's a very big question, you know. And honestly speaking, I some other day probably, if possible, we'll have a different chat on it, because this is all about exponential technologies, exponential mindset, and I would suggest follow two people if you want to understand more about it. One is Ray Kurzweil, and Raykurzweil, Ray Kurzweil. The other guy is Peter Diamandis. Okay, so Peter, you can buy a book on abundance. There's a book called Bold, P-O-L-D, by Peter Diamandis, and it's an amazing way how they have put the 6 Ds in which exponential thinking will be. So yes, IoT, AI, these are exponential technologies which are going to shape a lot of stuff in the future. In fact, they are shaping right now, and it's difficult to say exactly on generic way, because if you take each industry and if I talk about it, that's how things will happen. So generically speaking, I see a lot of things will happen, mainly right now, given the COVID situation has given a new set of norms. We will see a lot of it happening, but overall, yes, there is going to be a huge rush of exponential technologies, adoption of exponential technologies, to be more precise.
Thank you so much, sir, thank you so much, sir, for sharing your valuable insight. I think that answers your question, Tamanna.
Yeah, I guess Tamanna, I can see she is online. So if this is what you were asking and I could answer, so I guess that's it. But later on, probably if you want to discuss something on that, we can do some other way to find out how we can do it. But go through this two people, Ray Kurzweil, Peter Diamandis, read few books, follow Abundance Digital, follow Singularity University. You will understand what I'm talking about. Okay, so we can take a leave for today.
Yeah, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Okay, nice meeting you all. Very enthused batch. Yeah, I agree to what Krishna Disha gave me a heads up about. It's a very enthused batch, and really loved interacting with you. And as I said, now my scale from 7 is to 0. So yeah, all the best.
Thanks to you. So this conversation was quite intriguing how you explained everything up.
Thank you for the feedback. Okay, bye-bye.
Thank you, sir. Bye.
Bye.